Hi, everyone. So excited to be here and to talk more with you about year-round generosity in your community. So, I'm Victoria. As Josh said, I am from a small town in Michigan, so north of you, a bit north of you. I'm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Being in a small town, I've worn a lot of hats in my time with the nonprofit sector. I worked in a nonprofit capacity building agency before joining the Giving Tuesday team, but I have also been a community fundraiser, a volunteer. I'm currently board chair of a small organization in my community. And I led Give 906, which is the Upper Peninsula campaign, regional campaign for Giving Tuesday. So very similar to Giving Tuesday and beyond in your area. So I've been on the Giving Tuesday team for about two years now. And speaking to people in the Midwest has been probably my favorite. Actually, it is my favorite. So very happy to be with you all in the Ohio Mahoning Valley area. It's beautiful down there. I've visited sort of close before, and so just blessed to be with you. So I was very surprised to see on the registration that 64% of you indicated that you did not participate in Giving Tuesday last year. So I wanted to give a little interview or overview background on what Giving Tuesday is, what it isn't, and how it can be used to bring in new givers. So Giving Tuesday created in 2012. It actually kind of started as a meme on the internet with the very exciting message that we can give back after days of consumption. So it's always geared towards the giver community. Over the 11 years, this idea has grown into a global movement that inspires millions of people to collaborate and celebrate generosity globally. So we have hubs all across the world. We've got the US and Canada hub, which I work in. We've got a hub in Latin America. We've got a hub in India. We have a hub in Africa. And then we have our global team. We also have a data team because the question was raised, how much money was raised on Giving Tuesday? And no one could answer it. So we have this new data team. It's been around for a couple of years now, and they provide the social sector with big data. Some of it we'll dig into a little bit today. And I do want to address that common misconception that we've all heard. Giving Tuesday is not fundraising Tuesday. Okay. That's like a lot of times we hear this pressure to fundraise on Giving Tuesday. And I cannot stress enough that the day and the movement exist to inspire people to be generous. And that means something different to everyone. Nonprofits are a great vehicle to express generosity financially if that's something that someone wants to do. But here at Giving Tuesday, we talk about all types of generosity, be it normalizing smiling at someone as you hold the door open for them, or giving a 5-figure check to your favorite nonprofit. Big range there. There are so many ways to give, so many ways to be generous. And that's what we really leaned into. What could the world look like if one Tuesday a month, every Tuesday, or all day, every day, people are acting more generously? What could that do for our communities? All right. So your community is actually leading the way. The Community Foundation of the Mahoning Valley is one of our 333 Giving Tuesday community campaigns. So if you're not one of the agency funds involved in their Giving Tuesday community movement, that is a thing that they do. They coordinate Giving Tuesday in the local community. In addition to that, there are cause coalitions, there are youth-led movements, there are professional networks and identities, there are neighborhoods and mutual aid networks that also collectively band together to participate in Giving Tuesday. So you don't have to be out there on your own as an individual nonprofit trying to participate. There are many ways to get involved, and I definitely suggest talking to Josh more about what's happening in your area if you're not involved in the community campaign yet. So we see a lot of people be generous on Giving Tuesday. In the US alone, 34 million people did an act of generosity on Giving Tuesday. 18 million donated money, 14 million gave their voice through some sort of advocacy effort, 8 million volunteered, and 10 million gave goods. Well, those are really, really big numbers. You can see they're all decreases from the previous Giving Tuesday, from Giving Tuesday 2020. And from what I'm hearing, you all are seeing that nationwide year round. And so I would love to know, you can pop in the chat, is that what you're seeing in your area? Are you seeing decreases in donations, decreases in volunteers? Are you actually seeing increases? Every community is different. So you might be a community that is seeing increases, but I would love to hear in the chat where you think your community's at. If you're seeing things going up, you're getting more dollars, more volunteers, more items, or have things kind of slowed down and you're seeing decreases from the previous year? And so even though the numbers are going down, I'm seeing maybe slightly seeing that locally. We got one comment so far that we're seeing some decreases. Oops. Giving moments like Giving Tuesday do offer a pipeline to getting new people involved because it's one of the few days that people are hearing about generosity all over the place and they're looking to do something. So having a plan to activate on Giving Tuesday is great if you're not doing it. Using it as a tool to grow your pipeline of givers and engage your current givers at a deeper level are both things that you can use these moments for. And so you can see in this graph, this is from 2020 because we had 2 Giving Tuesdays that year, and you can visibly see the spike nationally on both of those days. Giving Tuesday now was in May, and then regular Giving Tuesday was in December. Any questions about background on Giving Tuesday, what it is, what it does? Not seeing any questions in the chat yet, but feel free to plop them there. I'll take a couple breaks for questions, then we'll have a big Q&A break at the end. So now that you know a little bit more about Giving Tuesday, I'm excited to share what we're going to dive into today, and that is that anyone, anywhere can give. Like I mentioned earlier, it can be as easy as smiling as you hold the door for someone, helping your neighbor, showing up for an issue that you care about, giving to an agency that supports people who need our help. All of these acts of generosity count in making the world a better place. So we're going to talk about how, why, when, and what go into generosity year round. And for those of you that are like me and love data, I have data to show you. So we'll get there. But first, a couple more definitions. Radical generosity. Radical generosity is the definition Giving Tuesday uses when we talk about people being generous. We believe that when you see suffering, you should take a moment and do something, act to make an impact, because that suffering should be intolerable. Like if we live in a world that leads with generosity, we are seeing these people struggling and we are taking an action to do it. So that's the world that we are imagining to be possible. And then you may have noticed that I am saying things like givers and generosity and not donors and money. It was said best by Giving Tuesday's CEO, Asha Curran. Thinking about giving in terms of only money is like thinking about love in terms of only diamonds. Keep in mind, as we talk more about giving, it's easy, especially as fundraisers, to slide back into thinking about the dollars. But we want to bring people and get them engaged, especially I've seen volunteer involvement mentioned in the chat, as well as decrease in number of givers, but higher gift amounts. And that's exactly what's happening nationally. So we're going to talk about ways that we can encourage people to get involved in all ways. And you'll see why that's important in a few minutes. So we've reached our first data point. We have a survey called Giving Pulse. Giving Pulse surveys 100 people in the US every week. It's a different 100 people each week, so 5,200 people total. And it asks them about how they were generous in the last week and month. And you'll see this rolling average in the first 3 quarters of 2023. Unfortunately, our year-end report actually comes out in 2 weeks. So I don't have the full year 2023, but I do have the first 3 quarters for you. You'll see between like really high 50s to like 70, 75% of people were generous in a given week. And when we break that down, we can see that giving money and donating items kind of flip-flops depending on the time of the year. We can see volunteering decreases so much in the summer. Like that was such an interesting find for me. Um, the advocacy line was much higher than I thought it would be. So hearing people and seeing them share how they feel they're giving, it was really eye-opening in the way that I think about how people give. My favorite is gave in other ways, because that is people who say things like, well, I don't volunteer, but I do coach my son's little league team. And if you know anyone who has been a coach of a little league team, that is a very intense volunteer commitment. But in people's minds, they may not see it as volunteerism. So that's what that line captures. And I'm going to break it down a little further. And I do see the question about slides. Yes, I will send out the slides in PDF form, and we'll also have a recording of this presentation for you all after. So this shows that donating money, time, and items, that's right, donating in all 3 ways is the largest group of givers. Have you guys noticed that ever when you look at your donors? Are you asking your donors and your volunteers, all of your types of givers, are you providing on-ramps to give in multiple ways? Or do you just kind of say, okay, this person gave me money, so I'm keeping it with money. This person gave time, so I'm keeping them with time. This graph is super interesting, especially when we look at that money piece. Overall, people who gave money, so just the circle that gave money, approximately 75% of that circle gave at least one other way. So your financial donors are donating more than just dollars. Do you find this surprising? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat. And while you're putting them in the chat, I also want to call out that give time, give volunteer section, because when you add up those numbers, it's the smallest. The least amount of people give time. And we saw that in the previous slide too. Volunteering, giving time was lower than giving money and giving items. But when you do the math on the percent that gave time and also gave money and items, that's 56%. So 56% of people who gave time also gave money and items. So your volunteers specifically, 1 out of 2 times, are donating in all 3 ways. I encourage you to think of how you're talking about giving beyond time to your volunteers, especially. And finally, attitudes about giving. This data point shares a little bit about the motivation and how we can encourage people to get involved with what we're doing. 76% of people identified with feeling that everyone has the responsibility to give and help people in need. 33% said that they give because they feel guilty for the good fortune that they have, and 27% said that sometimes they give because of peer pressure or to fit in with others. We're going to talk about storytelling and how we frame what we're doing with our communities in a little bit. And I want you to remember this slide, because some of the more urgent and negative tactics don't necessarily align with why people are giving. So how can we tap into this generosity that we just learned about year round? We talked about Giving Tuesday and it being a good on-ramp to bring in new givers. But once we got them, how do we keep them engaged? What can we do to make sure that they're active and involved if they want to be? First thing we can do is diversify how we talk about giving. When you put together your newsletter or any type of communication you're doing with the public, presentations at your local Rotary Club or your social media posts, whatever that may look like, diversify how you talk about your givers. Highlight forms of giving beyond your monetary donations. Showcase people volunteering. Talk about skills that people can share that you might need. And these can be things that are small, like we need a brochure designed. This isn't a long-term volunteer opportunity. We just need this one skill for a very short amount of time. We need someone to proofread and edit our newsletter. So these are more like professional skill sharing opportunities than long-term volunteer commitments. And then, of course, sharing those in-kind donations. People, as you saw in the previous slides, love to give items. What items might you need? And do you have a list of those items that people can reference to see when they're at, I don't know if you guys have it in Ohio, honestly, but I love Meijer. I'm a big Meijer shopper. And like when I have the $10 off on my M Perks and I know the homeless shelter needs socks, it's easy to grab a pair of socks and just like use my M Perks to cover it. And I bring that down and donate it. But I know that they need socks because they're out there talking about it, right? And so if you're not talking about these items that you might need, your givers aren't going to know that they can utilize both their financial funds or like promotional credits that they have at stores as a way to give back. And then showcase those creative fundraising campaigns and initiatives that people may be doing on your behalf, right? There could have been some sort of event at the brewery that benefited your organization, or you could have an active peer-to-peer fundraising network. Highlighting those individuals that are out there doing the work benefiting your organization in your communications can help inspire others to get involved. So building relationships is key. And I want to talk a little bit about the first step in building a relationship, and that's being able to tell the story of what you're doing. Storytelling is that first step, a huge opportunity to show people how they can help. You want to make sure that your impact is tangible, that you're illustrating the needs in your community that your organization is meeting, and show people how they can be a part of it. We want to use storytelling to reduce the distance between the giver and the cause to create a powerful connection that serves to bring action and change. So we call this landing the helicopter, this type of storytelling. So I have beautiful Munising, Michigan, for anyone familiar with the Upper Peninsula. They get probably the most snow of the area because of where they're situated on the lake. So you're in a helicopter, you're flying over Munising, you're like, wow, this is a lot of snow. I'm not really sure how I can help this community. There is an overwhelming amount of snow that needs to be moved. Like the roads are slightly plowed, but that's it. And now I want you to imagine, see, right here, you land your helicopter at this intersection, and oh my goodness, there is a shovel right here in the snowbank. And there is a car right here in the driveway. And that driveway is not shoveled. You can see that car is covered in snow. You know how to help that person. That's the story we want to tell. The story is not Munising got 35 inches of snow, but this individual is stuck in their driveway and we need someone to come shovel so they can get out, they can get to their job, they can get groceries, whatever it is that they may need. To put this in more of a nonprofit context, books are another great example. If I say 48 million adults need literacy services, do you Do you like feel you can make an impact on that? That's a big number, right? But if I say, um, we need a donation of the book Goodnight Moon, because in our literacy program, John has a 5-year-old daughter and he would like to practice reading Goodnight Moon to his daughter. Can you donate a copy of Goodnight Moon? I know exactly, as a potential giver, who I'm helping. I know exactly what I need to go get. I know exactly how it will make an impact. That is landing the helicopter, getting away from that big view and down to how are you meeting the need of the people that you are serving. And then in addition to building relationships or the storytelling part of building relationships, we've got personalized communications. We've talked about this a little bit earlier in that people give in multiple ways, and making sure your communication is appropriate for the ways they give and introduces them to new ways that they might give. So this graph shows how likely someone is to give in one way if they have given in another way. So that's right. If you look at the if gave money column, someone that gives money is 85% likely to give an item and only 50% likely to give time. So knowing that, your communication to them may include more opportunities for items, as opposed to if someone gave time. If someone has volunteered, they are 82% likely to give money and 89% likely to give items. Both of those are really high. So I would include multiple ways to give in an outreach to a volunteer that may be looking to get more engaged, more involved, or learn more about your organization. And then finally, in that building relationships category, having opportunities to build community, especially in your volunteer core, super important. For many people, being involved with an organization is a way to stay connected to their community and to other people. And the more people care about community, be it the geographic community, the cause community that you're working on, the more likely they are to be generous. If someone is home and lonely and not engaged in their community and not seeing the good that's happening, it's a lot harder for them to see a reason to be a part of it. So we need to provide opportunities for people to feel connected, to feel engaged, and then that helps to inspire additional generosity in your current giving core. And then making it easy, leveraging that technology that works for your community of givers. Meet people where they are instead of trying to get them into something new. You know where people are finding information in your community. I'm not going to tell you where to post because I don't know where the Mahoning Valley residents are finding their information. I can tell you in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is Facebook groups. Facebook groups are really active in our area. It's not platforms like Volunteer Match or Idealist. They tend to be more big city urban areas. And for some people, that works really great. For some people that are looking at younger donors, Venmo is a great option. But if you aren't soliciting a lot of young people, Venmo might not be the tool for you. So it's looking at your audience, looking at who you want to bring in as a giver in any of the categories, and then finding out where they're at. And if you aren't sure where they're at, ask them. Ask them how they found out about your organization. And that'll help you kind of craft where you need to be online. Speaking of online, social media has been kind of weird lately. The algorithms and posting just to your page don't get the reach that they used to. So when we think about who you have in your current giving community, is there anyone who can help you get the word out about what you're doing and take some ownership in your success? It could be a really passionate board member or someone in one of your really passionate volunteers. But having people take an active role in your mission and share why they're participating is what we call the distributed organizing approach. And this means that you, as your organization, aren't bearing the brunt of getting the word out. You're giving people the tools they need to help share why it's important to be involved in what you're doing. And then you sit back and you watch them engage their networks who most likely aren't the same people as your network. So that's kind of your pipeline to bringing new people in. Some people also call this peer-to-peer or ambassadors. Lots of words for this distributed organizing type model, but not doing it on your own and trying to get the social media algorithms to play nice and spread your message as just your organization's page. While that may have been a wonderful tactic 8 to 10 years ago, things have changed so much that it really is about using people that care and want to share to help get the word out. So here's what that could look like. You can invite people to share their participation in your mission. You can see on Giving Tuesday, we use what we call the unselfie, right? Like you have the photo of the selfie, the unselfie, people share why they're supporting the organization that they support. I just saw pictures from a giving day that's coming up called Library Giving Day, where they go into libraries and have people write down why they love the local library. So there's lots of ways that you can use this people sharing images with a message of why they participate in your cause. Top corner, we've got some volunteers who just took a picture of a project they were working on, shared it on their social media with information on how to get involved. If Facebook is still big where you're at, Facebook does have fundraising tools, as does Instagram, as does TikTok. So a lot of those platforms that people are on, they can activate themselves to fundraise on your behalf. So that is an option if that's something that you find your audience and your audience's networks using. And then there's Twitter or X, as it's now called. You can use that for things like this woman did a giving spree where she was personally matching gifts to causes that she cared about. So if you have givers that do want to do matches and they have an active audience, they can do it themselves and have people send them the receipt and then they make a donation on as the match to that individual's gifts. So there's lots of ways to think about how this could manifest. And there are things you can do as an organization too. Different activities like an act of kindness or act of good initiative to get people sharing how they're engaging with your organization can be a fun way to start. Gratitude drives, thankathons, a gratitude wall. If you're a place that has a lot of foot traffic, this can be a really fun way to engage people. I think of like if you have maybe a thrift store location, you could have a gratitude wall where people could say, why are you grateful? What are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for finding today as you were shopping? All kinds of ways you can kind of frame a gratitude wall, a gratitude drive, or a thankathon to inspire people to give gratitude as a form of generosity. Because sometimes, people can feel underappreciated, and that gratitude and that thankathon can provide that really great feeling that people get when they're generous. Art and volunteer activations. These are my favorite. If you're an arts organization, you can focus on art. If you're not an arts organization, you can look at a volunteer activity outside of an art performance, but doing something where it allows, especially if you have donors that have not engaged with what you're doing, it allows them to come in a large group and learn and do. So it could be, we'll use volunteer activation as an example. It could be stuffing bags that are going to be provided to schools, if that's part of your mission. And you've never invited your donors to be part of stuffing the bags. A lot of them have contributed maybe items or they've contributed money, but they've never actually been a part of putting it together and distributing it to the kids. Invite them. They might say no. They might be interested in just keeping it a financial donation, but having these big, low barrier opportunities to come in and learn boots on the ground what's happening can be a great way to inspire people to activate in a different way. Contests and giving circles, this one is really innovative. So what this does is brings people together. It can either be one corporation or it can be multiple individuals. Um, and they pick where they want their money to go inside your organization. So this could be, I'm going to use a giving circle example because it's a little more fun. It could be inviting 20 young donors. Each of them is going to bring $50. $50 combined, we have $1,000. What can $1,000 do? You provide 4 options on where $1,000 can be spent in 4 different programs, what your organization could do with it. And then those people vote on where they want to see that money go. And the program with the most votes is the one that funding goes to. So not only is it you're able to raise funds through this giving circle, but people are really feeling connected and learning deeply about the work that your organization is doing in those 4 programs. And they're going to have a really fun time. Giving circles are really fun. They're going to go out and share that they did that with their networks. And that goes into amplifying community stories. If you know that you have donors, volunteers, givers of any kind who are doing cool things in your community, but maybe not with your organization, you can still talk about it, right? Like if you have a volunteer who got an award from another organization for how much they volunteer, celebrate that. Celebrate all of the great things happening in your community. We are here to build community, not competition. We're here to make the pie bigger, not to make your piece bigger, right? The bigger the pie is, the better it is for everyone. So we want to share all the great things happening in the area. You can provide a free virtual experience. For some people, they just want to know more about what you're doing and don't know how to ask. So doing a short 30-minute Q&A office hours type drop-in situation, maybe with your CEO or maybe with one of your program directors of a program that's getting a lot of steam, and just inviting your donors, hey, if you have questions and want to learn more about what we're doing, hop on this Zoom link for a half an hour and get your questions answered. And that goes right into community education, awareness, and advocacy as well. You can create events that go beyond asking people to give and instead inspire them to learn something new, to bring awareness to your cause, or to advocate locally, statewide, even nationally or globally for what's going on in your cause area. So equipping people to give them voice and to encourage them to use their voice in a way that makes your community better is another way that you can get people to engage year round. Oh, and the Community Foundation does have a giving circle model. Thank you so much for sharing that, Josh. That is so cool. So if you're thinking about maybe this giving circle opportunity, Josh is a great resource to learn more about how they got it started. Awesome. All right, so